Carlos, thank you so much for inviting us on set. I know this movie in particular we're not allowed to talk about, but I want to talk about you anyways. Let's start off with what got you into film.
It was so long ago. Actually, I started working in television, and and the reason is funny because the reason why I started working in television is because I was living, like, I moved to the capital city, to Bogota in Colombia. I am from a little town from Villavicencio that is probably 3 hours away from Bogota, anyways. So when I moved to Bogota, I ended up having an apartment that was 3 blocks away from the TV channel, and I was like looking for a job in a new city, I was like, oh, I want to be an extra. So I went to the TV station and I asked them, hey, you know what? Do you need some people? I would love to have a job, and television is kind of cool. So I was an extra for some time. And that's technically how I started being in front of the cameras. But I have a actually very interesting story about how I really started in front of the camera in television. I used to have a girlfriend. She was so much into being an actor. And then it was a TV channel, local TV channel, that was going to be in my city for first time. So there was a big line of people because they want to audition for this new TV channel. They were looking for around 6 people to be hosts at some like new shows and things and that. So I was with my ex-girlfriend now, with my girlfriend by the time, and it was funny because we spent like an hour making that big line, and when we were getting the application forms, they gave one of those application forms to me, thinking that I was making the line as well. And I was like, no, 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 thank you. And she was like, no, 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 actually, you should do it. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. Then I filled it out, and they made a little interview of me and a little interview of her. So we call it like a casting. Like 2 weeks later, they called me. And they said, hey, you know what, we like the attitude you have. We would like to have you as a host. We are going to give you some training. So they gave me some training like for 2 months. And then I ended up being the host of one of the shows for that new TV channel. And my girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend now, they never called her.
Is that why she's next?
But anyway, she was very happy because I got the job, and she was very proud that I actually, when I was hosting the show, it was pretty good. Then things, my life like changed a little bit. Some problem with my family, so we moved to Bogota, which is the capital city of Colombia, huge city. And I ended up moving into close to the TV channel, and I already told you about that story. That's
And
amazing.
then what made you come, well, to Canada first off, but Winnipeg?
Yes, that's great that you asked that, because remember when I said that some problems with my family, that's the reason why we moved from that little town to Bogota. Same situation happened. Like, I'm talking about 15 years ago. Sadly, Colombia wasn't the country that it is right now. So it was so much violence. People were just killing people. Life was very cheap there. Um, I used to go to school with some people that didn't end up being a teenager because they got killed, and it was a very difficult time for me and my family. Then I had like one of my aunts. She used to work for like a government, and then she got killed, and then my mother was kind of threatened, like, you know what, you need to move out. Like, it was so many problems with my family and the bad people, like narcos and things like that in my country, that we decided to move to a bigger city like Bogota. So it would be better for us because people are not going to bag us. The thing is, like, this guy who killed my aunt, he went to jail, and he was asking my family to not to sue him for the killing of my aunt. And the one who actually sued him was one of my uncles, but he thought that it was my mother, and he told my mother, if you don't take that lawsuit against me, I'll kill you and I'll kill all your family. Then so many problems in my country, and I was a little kid. I had 3 little siblings, and It was very tough for me, for my mother. I don't have a dad actually. My mother was single mama. It was very difficult life with us in Colombia. It was very tough. We used to just sometimes sleep on a park because we were scared to go home because some people were waiting for us to kill us. So we had to move around the country, and then we ended up in Bogota, and we felt safe in Bogota. My mother was going through so many stages of getting like no much food. She was very kind of a little shabby, and then she was so skinny because the worriness and all the situation we were going through made her to lose a lot of weight. But this saved her life. One day, she was walking with one of my sisters, and two guys approached her with a gun, and they pointed at her saying, okay, this is the girl we are looking for. And the other guy said, you know what, I'm not sure. And they showed a picture of her, and they said, my mother saw the picture, and they said, no, this is not the same woman. And it's because my mother lost a lot of weight, so she looks like a different person on the picture that they had, that how she was looking in real, like, and they were like, no, this is not the woman, and they walked away. And
The stress and everything actually ended up saving her.
saving her life. After that, we decided to ask for help to be out of the country. So we are refugees in Canada. Technically, my mother talked to the Canadian embassy, and so two embassies really helped us. One was the Swedish embassy, and the other one was the Canadian embassy. We decided to come to Canada instead of going to Sweden. And I'm very glad that I came to this country because it's a beautiful country. Everyone who comes here tries to help. And you see, like, I was a guy in danger in Colombia that I could have been killed there with my family. And now I am directing movies and working on set with big guys like Keanu Reeves, Henry Cavill, like a Sean Penn, like, and putting the name of, like, my name in big projects, and my country kind of in, somewhere around when people will like, oh, this is the Colombian representation of a Colombian person working in these movie sets. And by the way, there are not many people who speak Spanish on the movies that I worked. I am usually the only one.
That must be helpful to you as well then, to get you more gigs, because there's the case where sometimes you might need to translate.
Not really. I haven't had that type of job yet, but I would say it could be like a bonus. That's true, especially because a lot of productions are coming from states and LA, and as you probably know, they speak Spanish in Los Angeles like a lot. So it would be very useful for me if I go to LA. But I think when I moved to Winnipeg, it was 11 years ago. I didn't speak English. I used to take the bus to go to school to learn the language, and for me, it was very hard because I was mute and I was deaf. That's because you don't speak the language. So mute and deaf. I remember it used to be very, very frustrating when I used to ask for some directions to the bus driver, and I couldn't say anything. And then I was like, come on, I have to learn this language. And having a new life, not knowing anyone, it's totally different culture. Like, thanks God I came with all my family. Government helped us. So this is the way government did it. There's so many people that are thinking like, oh, we shouldn't be helping immigrants. There's some immigrants, like Canada, especially Canada, they're very careful with the procedure that they do, because they checked all the criminal records from everyone who is coming to this country, and technically all the Colombian people who I know in the country, because I've been in Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, every single Colombian person that I have met, great people. Great people, it means government has done beautiful job, because you don't want to see the bad guys from my country. One bad guy from Colombia, it will make a mess here. And I would say there's some bad guys here too. It's like everywhere. The only difference is like here is less people go to the bad side, and I would say it's because there are more opportunities in this country. Government help. For example, for me, they pay my schooling. I went to Harrison College, and lent me the money, like a student loan, and I am paying them back,
Okay.
making payments, and I love it. We don't have this type of benefits in my country.
And now you're taking it to the next level with opportunities with everything that you've done. For instance, you were telling us already that in this year alone, you've worked on 5 films. Did you ever expect that?
Not really, not really. Actually, when I finished school, I was planning to move to Toronto or Vancouver
Okay.
because I was like, there is where the big movies go and it's super busy. But then, as Toronto is super busy, there's so many other people that are already working in the film industry there, so it's more competition, right? So I decided to stay in Winnipeg for a little bit, and I was so lucky that when I started in this industry, the movie industry, the film industry in Manitoba started like growing, and now is huge.
Yeah. And the number of credits you have everything from A Dog's Purpose to Siberia with Keanu Reeves to the new Sean Penn film as well. That's crazy. Like to wake up and think, well, I'm just going to another day on set, and you're working with all these big actors. What goes through your head on a daily basis?
That's super cool. That's super cool. But we have to understand that all of us, we are human beings. And like being on set, for example, I was very excited to work with Keanu. I wanted to, to meet him, to see him. And that opportunity came. I was on set. I'll tell you what happened, the first impression. He was coming to set, and I was so excited. Oh, Keanu is coming to set to work. Nice. The first 15 minutes, I was like, oh, Keanu is there, nice. 20 minutes later, oh, nice, Keanu. Half an hour, yeah, it's Keanu. An hour, like, oh, Keanu. Then my coworker, yeah, right? We are working together on set, so he became the same person, electrics or the camera operator. It's just the kind of cool person because you seen this person in the movies, and actually Matrix was one of my favorite movies. That's why I wanted to meet Keanu. But once you work on set 14 hours, it becomes like it's another coworker. It's another person who is on set working with you, trying to make a movie. It's a cool experience, and same thing happened with Superman, which is Henry Cavill. He was working in a movie that now is, I guess, is Night Hunter, but it used to be Nomes.
That's the one with Ben Kingsley as well, right?
And Alexandra Daddario, and they're big Hollywood names in that movie. And it was super cool to work with them. Yes, I'm putting my name on the credits of this nice movie, big one.
Now you've done all this. You've done tons of locations management jobs on all these.
And I started with camera.
You started with camera.
Yes.
What made them switch you over, or what made you to decide to switch over?
When I was working with camera department, I noticed that there is a big procedure to get from the trainee to be the DOP, which is the director of photography, that I love to do. That's my passion. Then I started as a trainee, and there is a 90 days on set, and then you have to go to second assistant to camera and spend so many other days. It's a long procedure, right? And it didn't really give me the freedom to learn from other departments. So one day I was looking actually for more money, and someone called me to be on set in the locations department. And I was like, yes, I will do it. It's the department that gave me the opportunity to work with every single department, like props, like sets, like camera department, like sound department. So locations deal with everyone. So this is how it is. You go and say, hey, Carlos from locations, and pretty much everyone is going to say, yes, we know him because I am the one who deals with all the other departments, right?
So now you're basically the go-to locations manager person after all that camera work that you did.
Yes. So technically, I moved into the locations department for money. They offered me a job, and I was like, okay. I didn't know what to expect from this department, and I noticed that it gave me the freedom to work with the other departments as a director that I want to be, or director of photography as well, which is I'm very greedy. Last movie, I want to have the 100% power of everything. So what I did was I was the director, and the DOP. So technically, a movie is done by the director and the DOP. Those two are the ones who really decide how everything is gonna like work. And sometimes I've seen in several movies, I don't want to mention names, that the director wants something and the DOP wants something else, and it becomes like a conflict between director and DOP.
And you can tell on screen.
And I can tell on the screen, yes, that's true. So for that reason, it's better if I could work with a DOP that I don't know yet, who can totally see my, like, kind of have the same vision that I have. Otherwise, it would be very hard for me to work with someone who tries to change my ideas. I've seen some DOPs that they are very like some movies like very against this idea. The director says let's do it this way, and the DP is like, no, I don't like it. Let's do it the other way. And they what I am the one who is telling you, and I'm like I want to be on the same page with my DOP. So I don't know if that's hard to find a good DOP that you can share ideas. I started directing like 5-6 months ago. The day today actually is September. What day is today?
Today's 15th.
The 15th, right? So September 15th, 2019. So hopefully I can see you in 3 years from now. And we are going to make another interview and we will see where life is going to take me.
Oh, you'll be everybody, not just on film sets, but everybody around will know who you are. I can tell. Just the way I heard about you, and then just this short meeting that we've had, I can tell that your personality really shines and you're the type that nobody will ever forget who you are. It's, yeah. When it comes to directing, which you've only been doing for so many months, you've already got a little bit of recognition.
Yes. Actually, yesterday I received a text message from one of the producers for the first short film that I did that was actually Union because it's an ACTRA film, and we are gonna be on a film festival.
That's amazing. Not just any film festival either, but in LA, Santa Monica, the place that film is.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it.
You know, I'll tell you something. I think my childhood was very rough, and it's like life took a baseball bat and hit me, but then it's kind of petting me and giving me good stuff, and that's life. There are good moments, there are bad moments. I haven't done anything like spectacular yet. I took all this process working with these big movies. When I was in A Dog's Purpose, like the director that was the director for that movie, he's an Oscar winner director. And I was like, okay, he's an Oscar winner. He knows his stuff. And I was just trying to be beside him, trying to learn, trying to see how he sees things, trying to get into his head, what is he thinking. By the way, he was a director that take his time. He was just looking around, seeing kind of, I could feel actually all those ideas and imagination going through his brain. And it's great because I would say that's the way that my brain works as well. I was working in Caltachaki, and I was outside on the parking lot. It was winter, it was very cold, and I came up with a good idea. I can't really talk about it, exactly what it is, but what I can tell you is I was like, yeah, this is a great idea. I'm gonna send it to MAD, which is Mothers Against Drink and Drive. They have beautiful TV commercials like PSAs. And guess what? I sent this email to them, and they loved my idea. And they sent an email back saying, we love it, it's a nice, fresh idea. How can we make this possible? We would like to shoot it. And I was like, I was greedy, as I told you. I said, I want to be the director. And they actually said, okay, you can be the director. Show us your reel.
Oops.
I didn't have anything, right? Like probably right now, getting into this film festival with that short film that I just did, it would be something that I can show them, look, I have this. And they were like, you don't have a reel, it would be very hard. So I didn't end up letting them to do it. And they still, like 4 months ago, like 3 months ago, they sent me some email saying, have you done anything with that? We really would like to shoot it. And I'm thinking probably I'm gonna ask them, okay, I have a reel, let's do it. I don't know if they're gonna give me the chance to be the director this time. But it's a good idea, and I am planning to do it probably as a short film for myself. I got approved by ACTRA for another short film that I have to get done by November. And it's a big one. It's my own idea, my own script. And it's gonna be, people are gonna be talking about it.
By November. We're in September. So like 3 months down the road, not even.
Yes.
And you have to be finished.
Yes.
Have you started it?
No. The good thing about this is because it is a short film, we can shoot it in 2 days.
Okay.
So that way it's gonna give me a lot of time to prep. I would say it's gonna take me probably 1 week to prep, 2 days to shoot it, and I would say it's gonna be probably 3 days to do the post production. So I'm talking about probably in a week. It can be done 8 days, I would say.
You make it sound so simple, but it's really not. So, being on set, you're learning from all the best people. When it comes to doing your own films, you now know who to choose, who to go with. And I've heard, I don't know if it's still the case, but a lot of people that are in the industry, when they read a good script, they're willing to do the hours, put in the hours for free.
That's true. Actually, that's how I shot my last short film. There was no money. Because that's the thing. Like, I was working in a movie, well, it's actually a TV show. The name is Tales from the Loop, $90 million. And so technically, it was 90 shooting days. So if we think about it, it was 1 million per day. But of course, it doesn't work that way. They have to pay the actors a portion and this and that and all this and that. But when I'm thinking about, I just need probably $50,000 for my little short film, and I don't have that money, that kind of money, and I see this huge like shows spending $90 million. It's kind of, but you know what? I get my crew usually with my scripts. So I show them the good ideas, they like it, and they are like, you know what? I love it. I want to be part of it. And that's how lately I have been. But I'll tell you what, those guys and girls who helped me with those old, not old, but I mean with those short films, what's going to happen is I am going to give them the opportunity to be working in when I will have the budget.
Yeah, when you have that $90 million.
When I hopefully I'm going to have the $90 million. Yes, that's true.
Now, of all the films that you've worked on, do you find that the best ones to work on are the ones with big budgets, or does it matter to you?
No, it doesn't really matter because sometimes, for example, oh, there is a movie with $35 million, but they pay 50 million to the actor. So technically, we are having a movie that is like whatever rest of so it's that 35 and they pay 15, so it's $20 million movie, right? So the budget is important because it gets you good quality. You can hire like a good, very good technicians, and you can have a very good like a lighting. You can for example rent spaces like this one that would be impossible for me to rent for my short films.
Gets you good crafty.
Good crafty, good food, that's important too, and all that. So technically, it is very important to have the money, but I'm telling you that you can probably do a great movie with probably $1.5 million. A great movie. You don't need. It depends too. You don't want a hi-fi movie with $1.5 million. That's gonna be horrible, because you need a lot of money to do something like that. But love story, like romantic things like that, $1.5 million would take me. I feel confident that I can direct anything with $1.5 million very, very well done.
What's your best experience you've ever had on set?
Best experience, I would say meeting all these big actors and working with them. Actually, I was here with Julia Roberts' husband, Danny Moore, and we were driving together, same car around, talking about life. We became very close, actually, working for this movie Flag Day. And it's a nice experience to have people like big Hollywood people like sitting with you and talking to you and working with you. That's amazing. And the best experience in set, actually every set have different experience for me, but I would say one of the best ones is probably when I met Keanu Reeves. That was super cool.
Especially if he's like one of your icon heroes that you've looked up to, right? I have one more question that I try to ask each of my guests. It's actually about your socks. I think that socks tell a lot about a person,
Oh, really?
and I'd like to know what type of socks you wear.
Can I say the brand?
Yeah.
I love, I love socks. I have so many socks, and I just use the ones that go a little bit up of their ankles, like these ones here. They're a little, yeah, like they're very comfortable and still they're, yeah, that's the kind of question you are asking me. What type of socks? Yeah. So technically, I use Under Armour. They're very nice and comfy, and I would say my favorites are Reebok and Under Armour. Those two.
I like it. It's a very strong sock too, so it keeps your foot comfy throughout the day, through your 14-hour days.
That's true. I have to stand for long periods of time, and they are very comfortable. Yes.
Carlos, you've come such a long way, and I really appreciate you being here to tell us your story today. And I can't wait for that interview in 3 years.
Sounds good. I promise. I promise. I promise. I'll. Doesn't matter what part of the world I'm gonna be. I'll give you the interview at the biggest movie that I'm gonna make. I promise.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.